All right, so let's take a look at how we can make a plane. Now, this usually works well for ground, and the way that we do that is simply adding in a plane. Now, a plane is basically kind of like a sheet of paper. That is basically it's a square when you think about it. So let's go ahead. Let's add in a plane here. What we can do is we can say I don't know, the width is 10, and let's make sure there's no spaces in there. And then, of course, the height is perhaps 10 as well. Okay. So let's add in the position. It's equal to, let's say, 0, 0, -3. Okay. And let's take a look at that here. And the other thing we can do is we can add in the color. We'll make it red. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so you can see it. There we go. That's actually now. By the way, there's a couple things. I didn't actually plan for it to be vertical like this. Um, so let's first of all set the rotation of this, and then I'm going to talk about uses for planes. So rotation. And most of the time, planes are kind of used for ground. Even if you have a game or something that has terrain, what it does is you set up a plane and then you modify the vertices to look like mountains. But for the most part, let's go ahead and let's add in the -90 here and 0 and 0. Okay, so, and I think, yeah, there we go. So now you can see we have this nice looking plane here. Now, let's set the position of this to 3. No, let's set it to -10. There we go. Okay, so we want it off in the distance here. Okay, so as you can see, that is a good good thing to do for the ground here. Okay, while we're here, we can probably put that down maybe 2 meters, 3 meters. That's the rotation. That's we need to put that in the position here. Let's say -2 meters or -3 meters. 2 works. Okay, so there you go. You can see we have a nice looking plane like that here. Okay, so there's two real uses for planes. One is kind of the ground here, and you can kind of see it's a placemat here. And if we were to change this to maybe 1, that looks a little bit better. 1.5 might be a little bit better. So you can kind of see that it looks like that on the ground. So the other use is putting it up like this. Okay, so it's kind of a backdrop. Okay, so the smart thing to do, so if I just undo that here, would be to literally copy this. Okay, let's change the color to blue and then add in the rotation here to 0. Okay, so as you can see, this kind of works here, but we want to move it up. Okay, so let's, and I'm just going to move this over to the side here so we can see the code a bit better. So the second plane, let's make that 1 or 0. Let's actually make it 0. And I think, there we go. So you can see that we have a backdrop here, and I think that looks pretty good. Let's change the first width to 20. Let's see, not the width, we want the height to be 20. So it's a little bit more of like a red carpet here. So that looks pretty good, right? So you can kind of see that we have this here, maybe 15, maybe look a bit better. So as you can see, that looks fairly good. If we wanted to, we could also change the width of, or the height of this to 15 as well. So it looks like it's a little bit more of a backdrop. Okay. So you can see that these are two planes here. Now, if we really wanted to, we could probably add one more on each side. But for the most part, I think this looks pretty good. Now, one last thing, let's take a look at the wire frame. Make that equal to true. True. Okay, and you can see that the plane itself is fairly fairly basic. Okay, so there you go. You can take a look at that there. And if you want to change the segments, we do segments width or segments width, and it normally has 1 as default. So if we made that 20, you can see that it now has 20. And then obviously segments height is equal to 20 as well. Just make sure that height is spelled correctly, and there you go. You can see that you have that here. Now, if I don't, if I, for example, add in this to be false here, right? I mean, there's no difference to the user for that. So you wouldn't want to use the segments unless you had a really good reason to do so. Okay? So as you can see, those are a good couple of uses for that there. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and delete these both because we don't necessarily need them like that. Okay? There we go. See you in the next tutorial.